I can hear something. Probably the wind. No, it isn't. It's time to defend the deep. It's Penguin. It's Kraken. What's this I hear? The Kraken have a new head coach? Well, let's jump right on into it. My name is Scott McGregor. It's time to talk the Pens and the Kraken on this episode of Penguins Postgame. Let's get rolling. You're locked in to Penguins Hockey on the Sports for Beginners podcast. Sidney Crosby and the Penguins play here on the Sports for Beginners podcast. Hey, Shooty scores! The bingo game is ready to roll. Welcome to Penguins Postgame. I'm PPG for PGH, and you'd have to be here to believe it. Here is your host, Scott McGregor. Release the Kraken! Well, that's the first time I'm going to be saying that out of 2 times the Penguins hockey season. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode, I should say, of Penguins Post Game. It's time to release the Kraken. The Kraken and the Penguins going to battle in the final game of a 5-game homestand between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Seattle Kraken. It's the 5-game homestand finale before the Penguins hit the road for a couple of games. So let's talk about matchup number 1 of 2 between the Seattle Kraken and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Before we get any further into the program here for a second, as we want to get to our goaltenders in goal, as well as our players on the ice in goal and our head coaches. Before we get to that, I want to let everyone know that if you are interested in checking out the Locked On Podcast Network, you can find Erica Lindsay Ayala, a good friend of our podcast, Sports for Beginners, hosting the only Locked On Kraken, the only Locked On podcast created just for Seattle Kraken hockey fans. That's Kraken hockey, baby. It's the Seattle Kraken on the Locked On Podcast Network, hosted by Erica Lindsay Ayala. It's Locked On Kraken, your daily dose of Seattle Kraken hockey, and is your daily podcast on the Seattle Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, with that being said, I wanted to give a quick shout to our good friend and Seattle Kraken host of the Locked On Kraken podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, Erica Lindsay Ayala. Erica, if you're listening to this show right now, even if it's before these two teams do battle again later this year and later this month, rather, on January 25th, we are really happy that you were able to come onto the show and talk Kraken hockey with us. It's Dan Bylsma. It's Dan Bylsma. Dan Bylsma in the head coaching duties for the Seattle Kraken as we get into things right now we are starting off with our head coaches as we get into everything. Dan Bylsma, a former Penguins hockey coach. Look it up. That's actually true. Look it up. That is true. That is very true. Very true. Look it up. That's very true. Against Mike Sullivan. And this was probably going to be Tristan Jarry's last start as a Pittsburgh Penguin. But before we brought on the show here, before I could bring on the show here, we found out that Tristan was going on waivers. And we've also now found out that he has cleared waivers and been sent down to Wilkes-Barre Scranton in the Pittsburgh Penguins organization. He did, however, start the game in the game of conversation on January 14th, 2025, which was a day night 2 nights ago, as the Penguins are on an off day. Tristan Jarry did get the start against Joey Decord, who would get the start on the other side of the ice. So it would be Jarry, as in 35 in numbers, with 39 Alex Nedeljkovic backing him up. And Joey Decord, number 35. 35 versus 35. Joey Decord getting the start for the Kraken. Philip Grubauer getting the backup job here for the Kraken against the Pittsburgh Penguins. So our venue for the final time in January and of this 5-game homestand for the Pittsburgh Penguins is once again PPG Paints Arena. It's a home game. The Penguins and the Kraken doing battle in Pittsburgh. They'll do battle in Seattle, Washington, one Saturday from this coming Saturday. As we are now about to hit the road, the Penguins are about to hit the road to Buffalo to play the Sabres, the Capitals, possibly the Kings, the Ducks, the Kraken, the Sharks, and the Utah Hockey Club. But we'll get to all that in a little bit. Plus, we'll get to what is next for the Kraken in just a little bit. One final thing to let you guys know, just in case you have missed it over the last couple of episodes we've done on the Penguins post-game show. Our King versus Penguins recap down in LA, should the game go ahead for the King and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Should the game go ahead and the game go down at Crypto.com Arena, we will have that regardless for you on a Tuesday right after the game. So we will hold off for right on game day because it's at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Central. I should say 7:30 p.m. Pacific, 9:30 p.m. Central. But we'll get there when we get there. Again, that's Tuesday, though, January 21st, 2025, and we'll have that for you. All right. Let's say we start off the period-by-period summary after this quick commercial break. And a word from our good friend over at Vienna Radio. I think that's a great idea. So we'll take a word from our good friends over at Vienna Radio, and then we'll get into it all. Kraken and the Penguins, the period-by-period summary, broken up by scoring and then penalties. We will let you guys know how that all is going to work when Penguins postgame, Pens of the Kraken, continues on Penguins postgame. Stick with us.
Looking for conversations on books and more, as well as tutorials on using your favorite devices and applications? You've come to the right place. Join us weekly on Spicy Techie, where Ali and Sienna provide insightful conversations, as well as useful tips and tricks to help you along on your technological journey. To learn more, tune into the show and like the Spicy Techie Facebook page. Search for Spicy Techie.
We welcome everyone back to the Penguins postgame show, Penguins and the Kraken. Penguins and the Kraken. The head coaches, as mentioned, are Dan Bylsma, Dan Bylsma, and Mike Sullivan. Starting goaltenders for this hockey game: Tristan Jarry and Joey Decord getting the go. They get the go for it. So here we go. Let's get down to business, shall we? I think we shall. We're going to begin by going period by period with each penalty that was taken in this game. So we're going to start off by penalty taking. I'll get to the goals in a second here in our first segment of the show, but we're going to start off with who took penalties in this game. The only penalty taken in the first period belongs to number 95, Andrei Burakovsky. He is going to take a penalty to serve. He's actually going to serve a penalty for a Seattle bench minor. 2 minutes for too many men on the ice. That came in at 1 minute and 11 seconds in. Only 2 goals were scored in the first period. We'll get to that in a second. And we'll also get to the scoring in the second period and in the third period as well. But before we get there, let's roll on here with the penalties and jump down to our second period of penalties. 1 penalty for the Kraken in this one. This one went to Vince Dunn. 2 minutes for high sticking. 14 minutes and 25 seconds in. Also, former Toronto Maple Leaf Noel Acciari is called for high sticking. He will receive a 2-minute minor at that same timeline, 14 minutes and 25 seconds for high sticking. Early in the second period, at this point in time, the Penguins are up. Sorry, they are tied right now with the Kraken at 1-1. Actually, no, the Kraken are trailing the Penguins 2-1 off the strength of a goal by Brian Rust. We'll get into the goals in a minute. As I said, we'll get there. We will get there. Right after the goal and right before more penalties occur, Penguins take their first penalty of the game as Pierre-Olivier Joseph takes a 2-minute cross-checking minor at 6 minutes and 53 seconds. On the way to the third period we go, and in the third, 4 penalties in the third. The former New York Ranger, Capo Caco, is going to receive a 10-minute game misconduct for abuse of the officials at 18 minutes and 57 seconds. He would not return to the game, but he did score the game's empty net goal. We'll bring it all to you in a little bit. But now that our penalty summary is out of the way, let's kick off our scoring summary before we take our second break of the program with what happened in the first period and second period on the goal scoring front. Due to the too many men on the ice, the bench minor served by Andre Burakovsky, 2 minutes for too many men on the ice, 1 minute and 11 seconds in. A minute and 12 seconds in, Joey Decord gets his first assist of the season and of the game as Jared McCann and him combined to give Chandler Stevenson his sixth goal of the season shorthanded. Well, sixth goal of the season for the actual season, and it is a shorthanded goal, as I said. Jared McCann, the former Penguin, receiving his 20th assist of the season. But just like that, the Kraken have taken an early 1-0 lead. And that will not last. A little later in the period, Philip Tomasino back in the lineup, looking good. His fifth goal of the season ties this one up. Drew O'Connor on the assist, his 10th of the season, so that's 10 for number 10. Speaking of 10, number 58, Christopher Letang, picking up his 10th assist of the season as well. 9 minutes and 19 seconds in, the Penguins have come back to even. After the first 20 minutes, the Penguins were out shooting the Kraken 16-2 in the shot total after a period of play. To the second period, we go. And in the second period, in terms of scoring, Brian Rust, the Rusty Razor, gets number 17 for his number 17, his 17th goal of the season, and puts Pittsburgh ahead 2-1. Excuse me. We were tied at a goal apiece heading into the second period of the game. He is assisted by EK65 Eric Carlson, number 26 on the season for Eric Carlson. And back in the lineup after missing a few games, it's Evgeny Malkin. Evgeny Malkin picking up his 25th assist of the season, 4 minutes and 42 seconds in. Of course, the rest of the second period was penalties. We started off this segment by going through the penalties. Now we're going through the scoring. And we're going to stop at the Brian Rust goal, which means that on Wednesday, as we are recording this on a Thursday, I don't know if the offer is still valid, but if it is not valid in Pittsburgh right now, then I hope you guys enjoy it on Wednesday. Half off Rusty Shakes at the Milkshake Factory, providing you the official milkshake of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Because Brian Rust scored, you receive half off Rusty Shake the next day at the Milkshake Factory. So I hope you enjoyed yourself half off a Rusty Shake at the Milkshake Factory. We'll get to the third period scoring, our final period by period shots on goal in the third period, the one after regulation. But to take us to break and to get a word in from our neighboring podcast, On the Ice and Behind the Benches, After 40 minutes of play, the Penguins winning that period 12-8 in the shot total of that period. They were now out shooting. At this point in time, they were out shooting the Seattle Kraken 28-10. 12-8 the final tally after 40 minutes of play. Only 5 shots on goal for the Penguins after regulation, and 8 for the Kraken. Well, what was that equal to? We'll find out when Penguins postgame continues as we go over a Kraken hockey period that led to the Penguins falling 4-2 to the Seattle Kraken. Stick with us. The climax of the game, remember the remaining game stats, and the 3 stars of the game when Penguins postgame continues. Stay with us after this from On the Ice and Behind the Benches. Looking for a good hockey podcast that covers your favorite hockey teams and mine? Check out On the Ice and Behind the Benches, where we chat about our favorite hockey teams from puck drop to the last play of the action. To learn more, follow the On the Ice and Behind the Benches Facebook page. Search On the Ice and Behind the Benches.
CNT Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down. Nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on CNT Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on CNT Radio.
Thank you very much, Thomas, for that wonderful word from On the Ice and Behind the Benches. And remember to catch Thomas every Tuesday on the Ice and Behind the Benches, the podcast, or whenever he can get some episodes out to you. I understand Thomas has some. I understand Thomas still has some Dolphins post off season, I should say. I understand he has some off season content coming for the Dolphins fans. So Dolphin fans, even if we don't have the Dolphins post game stuff up to date on our Sports Beginners podcast feed or on the Ice Behind the Benches, I invite you to check that out right here, exclusively on Sports for Beginners podcast when it's going to become available. We are not far behind for the Dolphins season as it ended at the end of week 18 of the NFL season. Of course, we're now past wild card weekend. So once we have all that out for you, we hope that you'll enjoy it, even if it is a bit late. And speaking of that, Bills Mafia, the Bills take on the Ravens at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Central. This Sunday night against the Ravens. They go against the Ravens this Sunday night at Highmark Stadium. Should be a good one between the Ravens and the Bills. That should be a good one between the Ravens and the Bills. That should be a good one. All right, back to Penguins and Kraken. Back to the Penguins and the Kraken. Here we go. So, we left off in the third period. We've taken our first 2 breaks of the program. In the second break, we took a look at before we got to the second break, I should say, after the first break, we got a look at how things shaped up in the penalty summary. Plus, I added the first period and second period scoring summary. Now let's get to the third period, and this was not a fun period for the Pittsburgh Penguins, let alone Tristan Jarry. It all begins with former Penguin Jamie Oleksiak scoring the game-tying goal, his third goal of the season, to give the Kraken back all square at 2 goals apiece. That would ultimately be our fourth goal of this hockey game. The fifth goal of the hockey game gave the Kraken the lead, but on the assist on that Jamie Oleksiak goal, it was Oliver Bjorkstrand. Oliver Bjorkstrand, his 16th goal, 16th assist, 16th assist, of the season. Adam Larson picking up his 7th assist of the season. 8 minutes and 4 seconds into the third period, the Kraken have tied this game up at 2 goals apiece after the Penguins tied it up early in the first period. But the goal scoring would continue for the Kraken. L.A. Tovovin, he gets one by Tristan Jarry for his 11th goal of the season. Shane Wright picking up his 13th assist of the season. Joshua Mahara picking up his 4th assist of the season. I'll go with Joshua M, just in case I pronounced it wrong. And that was a few seconds later, well, actually a couple seconds later. We're still in the 8-minute mark. We're still just about 8 minutes into the third period in this game. So not yet 8 minutes to go, but 54 seconds after the Jamie Oleksiak goal, it's a goal by L.A. Tovovin, his 11th of the season. Shane Wright picking up his 13th assist. Joshua M, his 4th assist of the season. And just like that, the Kraken have changed the tide. They have turned the tide on the Penguins. It's now 3-2 Kraken lead. The Kraken lead the Penguins 3-2 right now in this game. Mike Sullivan knows the Penguins only need 1 goal, so he's going to pull Tristan Jarry. And the Kraken know the Penguins need 1 goal to put this one back in a tie. Former New York Ranger says, yeah, you know what? That's not going to happen. He and Adam Larson collide for the game-winning goal. Well, in my mind, the game-winning goal. It wasn't the game. I don't think it was the game-winning goal in the game. But in my mind, it's the game-winning goal, the empty net goal that steals the game. It's Kaapo Kakko, 8th goal of the season, 8th goal as a member of the Seattle Kraken. Well, actually, it's his 8th goal of the season. Maybe not his 8th goal as a member of the Seattle Kraken, considering he was a member of the New York Rangers for the start of the year. But once again, Kaapo Kakko picking up a goal against the Penguins, his 8th of the season. Speaking of number 8 of the season, Adam Larson already has his 7th assist of the season. He's going to pick up his 8th assist of the season. And his second one of the game, second assist of the game. At the timeline of when Kaapo Kakko, despite getting the goal, also receives a misconduct for abusive officials at the same time of his goal, 18 minutes and 57 seconds. The Kraken, however, would hang on and beat the Penguins 4-2 at PPG Paints Arena on Tuesday evening. So there you have it, your scoring and your penalty kill. There you have it. And speaking of the Kraken, they actually are in action right now. So we are a bit behind schedule here for the Kraken and the Penguins. But you know what? They're playing the Jets tonight. We'll go over the rest of their schedule, including tonight on a Thursday night when we get there. And we're going to be getting there in a little bit. So be sure to stick with us for that. All right. Before we get to the 3 stars of the game, as always, as I said, we are not sponsored by Ford, the official car, truck, and SUV of the Pittsburgh Penguins, or Rivers Casino, Pittsburgh's entertainment destination. Those are the sponsors of the Penguins Radio Network for the 3 stars of the game. And of course, yes, of course, I have to say, of course, the play of the game. We'll get to it all in a little bit. But we want to open the door for sponsorship. So if you're looking to sponsor the show, hit us up on Discord under our Sports for Beginners Discord server, or the easiest way would be to hit us up on our email address. That's the easiest way to hit us up. And that is Sports for Beginners Podcast 8231 at gmail.com. If you would like to get in on the 3 stars, you can email the email address I just mentioned to you, Sports for Beginners Podcast 8231 at gmail.com. Or you can get it in on the action on the Discord server at Penguins Post Game Show Interaction. Again, that's Penguins Post Game Show Interaction to get in on the action for the 3 stars of the game and much more. All right. With that being said, let's quickly get to, before we get to the 3 stars of the game, what the final tally of the third period means in our scoring for the shots on goal for the game after the game. Well, 8 shots on goal for the Kraken in the third period. They win that period, but they lost the last two in the first 2 periods, I should say, 16-2 and 12-8. But the Kraken seem to be turning things up a notch a little bit. The Penguins seem to be running out of gas in that third period. 5 shots on goal only tallied, but regardless, the Penguins outshot the Kraken 33-18 in this hockey game. How did we do in the face-off dot? Let's talk about the face-off dot now. Well, just about 64% good from the face-off dot on Tuesday night for the Penguins, winning 33 out of 52 face-offs. Just about 64% there for the Penguins. Just about 37% good by the Seattle Kraken. They won 19, out of the 52 faceoffs in the dot on Tuesday night. Neither power play strikes on Tuesday night. Both power plays 0 for 1 for the Kraken and the Penguins. The penalty kills, meanwhile, go one for one. They go 1 for 1 because during that second period, when there were 2 penalties called for high sticking on Noel Achari and, of course, Vince Dunn, the game went to 4-on-4. I was going to say I was going to say 5-on-4, but no, it's 4-on-4 is what we went to play. Penguins spending 4 minutes in the penalty box. The Kraken, almost the entire period in the penalty box. 14 minutes to the exact in the penalty box. Almost 20 minutes, but not quite there. The Kraken out-hit the Penguins 28-20. They also blocked 17 of Pittsburgh's shots. Pittsburgh with 13 blocked shots in the game. Pittsburgh with way too many giveaways in this one. 17 to count them. 11 giveaways for the Kraken in this one. Both teams, however, taking the puck away from each other 3 straight times. So 3 takeaways for the Kraken, 3 takeaways for the Penguins. And just reiterate what we've talked about earlier in our shots on goal. Penguins won the first period 16-2. They won the second period 12-8. They lost the third period to the Kraken 8-5. But they win the period, well, they win the game, I should say, 33-18 in the shot. All right. Time now for your 3 stars of the game, and we'll get to the play of the game on the other side. All right. So with that all being said, your third star on Tuesday night was Philip Tomasino. 1 point, no assist, 1 goal. Despite all the other stats there. Your second star was Kraken defenseman Jamie Oleksiak and the former Penguin. A goal, no assist, and 1 point. 1 point, no assist, and a goal from Kraken right winger L.A. Tolvanen. He had one of the goals in this game, but so did Jamie Oleksiak. You know who also had a goal in this game? Capo Kakko and Chandler Stevenson. Also, Brian Rust. We got to mention Brian Rust. But it's L.A. Tolvanen, Jamie Oleksiak, and Philip Tomasino, the 3 stars to put up in your Tuesday game in the Kraken's 4-2 victory over the Pittsburgh Penguins. I'll be honest here, Penguin fans, before we get to this break, which will be one of our last final breaks of the show in this one. I'll be honest with you. I like the way the Penguins played in this one, but I also think the way that Tristan Jarry played later in the game, probably in the third period or so, might be cause for consideration as to why he got put on waivers after that game on Wednesday. Of course, the game was on Tuesday, but then on Wednesday we found out he went on waivers. He was only on waivers until Thursday, which is today, and he did clear waivers, and he was sent to the AHL by the Penguins. So that's what we know on Tristan. So what we now know also is that he's not with the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Penguins enter Friday night as a 18, 20, and 8 record. The Penguins' opponents in the Seattle Kraken, who are playing tonight, they enter their game against Winnipeg 19, 23, and 3 with a big win over the Penguins in their last game. Now, the Winnipeg Jets, meanwhile, they sit at 30 wins, 12 losses, and 3 overtime losses. That would include the shootout. So with that all being said, you got a pretty good matchup between the number 7th team in the Pacific and the number 1 team in the Central going on tonight. All right. The play of the game is next. Plus, what happened on a busy Tuesday night? And we will get to the game puck of the game in our final segment. That is coming up in a matter of moments. But before we get there, we're going to get to the shake of the game right after a look around at the Tuesday action following Penguins and Kraken. On the same night to be exact. And we'll also get to the shake of the game before taking a 30-second timeout to get the game puck of the game in and set up Penguins and Sabres, as well as Kraken and their next opponent. Who will they play next? After the Jets, they play tonight. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more Penguins postgame in a moment.
Looking for conversations on the world of broadcasting, sports media, and from time to time, my favorite sports teams? Listen to Broadcast Map with me, Ali Musa. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Broadcast Map Facebook page. Search Broadcast Map.
Looking for conversations on books and more, as well as tutorials on using your favorite devices and applications? You've come to the right place. Join us weekly on Spicy Techie, where Ali and Sienna provide insightful conversations, as well as useful tips and tricks to help you along on your technological journey. To learn more, tune into the show and like the Spicy Techie Facebook page. Search for Spicy Techie.
Seattle Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down, nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on Seattle Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on Seattle Radio.
Rolling right along with Penguins postgame here. Penguins and the Kraken. Penguins were defeated by the Kraken. I want to make sure I have that right. They were defeated by the Kraken 4-2. Time now to get to our play of the game. Before we get there and before we get to the shake of the game, let's take a look at our Tuesday lineup of games aside from the Penguins and the Kraken. In Toronto, Austin Matthews has the sole goal in the final matchup between the Stars and the Maple Leafs. Logan Stankoven, Maverick Borky, Matt Duchene. Logan Stankoven has 2 goals in this game. Matt Duchene and Maverick Borky with 1 goal in the game, and Austin Matthews with his 15th goal of the game. But the Stars defeat the Maple Leafs 4-1 and get some little taste of revenge from their last meeting earlier in the season. On the other side of the Pennsylvania area, the Columbus Blue Jackets beat the Philadelphia Flyers in a shootout 3-2. to 2. Down in Boston, in Beantown, the Bruins beat the Lightning 6 to 2. We also saw a 6-3 final in the Motor City between the Sharks and the Red Wings. The Red Wings fall to the Sharks 6 to 1. The Capitals pick up a 3 to 0 shutout win against the Anaheim Ducks. Another shootout final. The Panthers beat the Devils 2 to 1. Another shutout to speak of in this one. Senators beat the Islanders 2 to 0 thanks to goals by Artem Zeb and Adam G. Best of all, we see the Blues beat the Flames 2 to 1. The Golden Knights fell 5 to 3 to the Nashville Predators. The Canucks fall 6 to 1 to the Winnipeg Jets. The Utah Hockey Club fall 5 to 3 to the Montreal Canadiens. And in overtime in Denver at Ball Arena, the New York Rangers fall 3 to 2 in overtime to the Avalanche, Parker Kelly, and of course, Nathan McKinnon. Artemi Lincoln with one of the goals. Adam Edstrom has one. Sam Carrick, a shorthanded goal. Parker Kelly, I mentioned, he has a goal. Devon Tabe with the overtime winner. And that is your schedule for Tuesday, January 14th, 2025. Only 2 games were on the slate on Wednesday. The Oilers beat the Wild 5 to 3, and the Sabres beat the Hurricanes 4 to 2. Quite a bit of games on a Thursday night, but we'll leave it there for just Wednesday and on Tuesday, the time of our game that we're covering. So with that being said, we've broken down Tuesday's action, took a look at Wednesday's action from yesterday. So let's get down to my play of the game. As always, I'm going to just bring that right to you. So get off of what we've been saying off the top of our 3 stars. But just in case you missed it, that is brought to you by on the Penguins Radio Network, Rivers Casino, Pittsburgh's entertainment destination. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. We are not sponsored by that. So, without further ado, who's got the lucky play of the game for me in this one? Well, you know what? I'm going to go to the former Penguin goal. Jamie Oleksiak tying the game up in the 3rd period after Brian Rust put the Penguins ahead 2 to 1. Jamie Oleksiak's 3rd goal of the season is good enough for my play of the game. Takes down a 1-goal lead deficit, and then L.A. Tovovin and Capo Kakko, despite getting thrown out of the game at the same time after the goal, after the empty net goal, they take over and push Seattle to a 4 to 2 win over the Pittsburgh Penguins in their 3rd period rally to pass the Penguins as they score 3 straight unanswered goals to account for 6 goals scored in the game, 4 for the Kraken, 2 for the Penguins. Of course, with the Kraken and the Penguins is exchanging a goal each in the 1st period of play. All right, time now for our Shake of the Game. That is inspired by Jake Gensel's Milkshake Factory ad, now run by Brian Rust. Remember, Penguin fans, whenever Brian Rust scores, in a Pittsburgh game, no matter what the outcome, you receive half off Rusty Shakes the next day at the Milkshake Factory, providing you the official milkshake of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Not sponsored by the Milkshake Factory, but the segment was inspired by it. So without further delay, let's get to it. Our Seattle Kraken Shake of the Game recipient, which is known as our Play of the Game, our Player of the Game segment, rather. This one's going to go to Chandler Stevenson. I really like what I saw from Chandler Stevenson in 21 shifts. Yeah, he didn't do very much. He got one block, one hit, one shot, which went in. 1 point, 1 goal. It was a +1. I do think he could have played a little bit longer than 16 minutes and 39 seconds. Maybe 16 minutes and 40 seconds on the ice. That's my opinion on him. His faceoff percentage was good. Well, it wasn't great, but for me, I'll give it a decent 28%. Not too shabby for him. Very not too shabby. Not too shabby. An honorable mention to the Kraken goaltender Joey Decord. I really like what I saw from Joey. Who knows, he might get the game puck of the game after our 30-second timeout. Before we get there, let's reveal to you our lucky Penguins player, who's going to get the shake of the game and become a player of the game. Well, you know what? Tristan Jarry may have had a bad night in goal, but you know what? We're going to go ahead and put that aside for the game puck of the game, as I think both goaltenders, despite the night they had, they both deserve it. Deservingly so. We're going to give a shake of the game to Philip Tomasino, who got things started for the Pittsburgh Penguins in this one. And of course, Brian Rust gave the Penguins the lead, but then it was a goal by Jamie Oleksiak, Eli Toivulin, and Capo Caco that ultimately led to the Kraken beating the Penguins 4-2 at PPG Paints Arena. As a result of this, the Penguins end their 5-game homestand at 1 and I guess let's see, they lost in a shootout to the Columbus Blue Jackets, were shut out by Ottawa. So I will go with a 1-2 and 1. No, let's do this. A 1-3 and 1. Yeah, that makes more sense. A 1-3 and 1 record at home in this 5-game homestand. So not a very good record, but they do get one win rather than none in this homestand, which I'll take any day of the week. When you can win a game, even if you want to win all of them, you're not going to win every hockey game, especially not the way that you played on Tuesday night. So we're looking at a really big road trip to end the month of January, and honestly, it's looking like it's going to be very difficult if the Penguins string together losses for them to stay in the wild card race. But if they can pull together a couple of victories, they have an opportunity to win this game. They have an opportunity to get into the playoffs, I should say, let alone get into the wild card, which right now I think is what the Penguins are trying to do right now. That's what I think. Let me know your thoughts. And while you do that, or while you ponder it, we're going to take our final break of the program. It's a 30-second timeout. When we come back to you, we are going to bring you the game puck of the game and what's next for the Kraken, what's next for the Penguins. One thing we know for sure, the Penguins will see the Kraken in a couple days' time. How long will it be before then? Find out when Penguins postgame continues in 30 seconds. Stick with us. All right, final segment of the Penguins postgame show. Penguins and the Kraken. It's time for the game puck of the game, so let's get right to it. First off, we're going to start with the Penguins, and we're going to give out 2 game puck of the game for the Pittsburgh Penguins and for the Seattle Kraken. So let's get started with the Penguins. First off, we're going to go to our second goal scorer of the night for the Penguins on Tuesday. That was none other than Brian Rust. Brian Rust was a -2 in this one, so it's fitting that he's going to get the game puck of the game. Despite 4 shots on goal, 2 hits, a block, rest is history. Not exactly a great night for Brian Rust, but he did score a goal. Did score a goal in this one. Also, I mentioned Tristan Jarry, and you know what? Whether or not this was his last start for the regular season, given that he's now in Wilkes-Barre instead of on to another team, which was exactly probably where it was going to happen, what was going to happen if a team picked him up, let alone the Kraken. Penguins played on Tuesday night and are playing right now against the Winnipeg Jets. But with that all being said and that under the rearview mirror, let's talk about the fact that I still feel Tristan Jarry deserves a bit of credit here. Wasn't his best night by far, but 14 saves, 17 shots against, 3 goals against, 2 given up on the even strength side, 140 given up. I still think Tristan Jarry did his absolute best in this game. I really think Tristan still did his very best to get things done. And honestly, 824 for a save percentage, that's not very good for Tristan Jarry. But you know what? The important thing is that you try your best, and yeah, sometimes your best is not good enough, but you just got to keep working. So, with that being said, Tristan Jarry is my player of the game, is my shake of the game recipient pick me up. We also have a pick me up for Brian Rust. He is the game puck of the game for this game. Now let's go to the Seattle Kraken, the 2 recipients of the game puck of the game for the Kraken. First of all, we're going to go to Joey Decord. Give Joey Decord his flowers, made 31 saves on 33 shots, excuse me. I was about to say 39 and 30, but no, 33 shots on him. He stopped 31, allowed goals, all at even strength. Still played pretty well. Save percentage of 939, playing 60 minutes. The next guy to get a game puck of the game would be, well, I guess you could call this a pick-me-up, but I'm going to go to Vince Dunn. -2 penalty minutes. He was on the ice for a period, 20 minutes total. I mean, technically, you were switching shifts. all around. So total, he was on the ice for 20 minutes. Had 2 shots on goal, no hits, no block, no giveaways. He did have one takeaway in this one. So not bad for Vince Dunn, but I do think he could have done better in more time on the ice. Do I think he probably should have been given more time on the ice? No, not really, but what are you gonna do? Vince Dunn, Joey Decord, Tristan Jarry, and of course, as I mentioned for the Penguins, we're giving a shout to Brian Rust. Yes, Rust scored a goal in this one, but again, he, I still don't think Brian Rust played at his best, and I also don't think by any stretch of the imagination Tristan Jarry played at his best. With that being said, we roll on to finding out who's next. Let's start with the Kraken. Right now, they are ongoing against the Winnipeg Jets. They're going to start a 4-game homestand, including Pittsburgh, in their next 5 games before they go on the road for a game and then come back home for 2 to close out January. And here's how their next 5 look as if the Jets game on Thursday didn't start. They would play the Jets tonight, who they are playing tonight. Of course, they played Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh to close out a 5-game road trip in which they lost to Columbus on Thursday last week. They beat Buffalo on Saturday, lost to Detroit on Sunday. They also lost to the New Jersey Devils to close out a 3-game, make that a 4-game road homestand, including the end of the year on Monday, December 30th, 2024. But let's keep it to now 2025. So they'll play Winnipeg tonight, who they are playing right now. Game was at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's 5. They are going to play the King on Saturday from Seattle, Washington at Climate Pledge Arena. Then they'll play the Buffalo Sabres. And will you look at that? The next 5 for the Penguins and the Kraken beat up right in the middle, as I would hear on a childhood thing I grew up watching. Little gold piggy in the middle, I would say, for the Penguins. They'll play, as the Kraken will play the Winnipeg Jets, the Los Angeles Kings. Okay, they're playing the Jets tonight. They're playing the Kings on Saturday. They'll play Buffalo on Monday. They'll play the Capitals next Thursday at 10 p.m. Then the same time they play the Buffalo Sabres on Monday is the same time they'll be playing Pittsburgh to close out the next 5. And to add in an extra 6th game there, just for the Kraken, they'll take on Connor McDavid next following Monday, after this coming Monday, when they take on McDavid and the Oilers on Monday night, January 27th, 2025. That's part of a 2-game homestand to end the month of January, where Anaheim and San Jose will come into town. Then they'll be greeted by Calgary, Detroit, and Toronto. So all in all, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-game homestand, and not a lot of hockey for the Kraken to be played in the month of February. But their next 5, the Jets tonight, the Kings on Saturday, Sabres Monday, Capitals next Thursday, and next Saturday, not this Saturday, next Saturday, it's the Pens and the Kraken once more. For the Penguins, they're on quite the road trip. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7-game road trip for the Penguins. Begins with a back-to-back on Friday. That's tomorrow. They'll take on the Buffalo Sabres at 7 p.m. The Washington Capitals also at 7 p.m. on Saturday, this Saturday. If it goes going ahead, they will take on the Kings on Monday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Then the Ducks on Thursday night in Anaheim. And then they go head-to-head once again with the Seattle Kraken, hoping to avoid losing 4-2 at home and losing 4-2 probably in Seattle. We will see what happens. Four Nations Month is drawing closer, but we got a couple of games to get to before we get there. As for this episode of Sports for Beginners podcast, my name is Scott McGregor. Thank you guys so much for joining us here today on the show. Would love it if you took a second to rate, review, and share the podcast. Have a great rest of your day. Let's go, Pen, and I look forward to catching up with you again on Friday night after the Buffalo Sabres take on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Sabres, Penguins, Mike Sullivan versus Lindy Ruff. That's next time on Penguins Postgame. For now, good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We will talk to you again soon. Let's go, Pen. Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has just left the building. You've just listened to Pittsburgh Penguins hockey on the Sports for Beginners podcast. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners or visit the official Sports for Beginners podcast website. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay tuned. And remember that it is not goodbye, it is until next time. And you'd have to be here to believe it.